and also, okay, so good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here again this week for Safeoclock. It's also it's also an opportunity, a very big privilege for me to have this opportunity to be presenting this week's uh, discussion. It's titled "Shipping with Barges: Benefit, Risks, and Opportunity." So let's go. So everyone here has an idea of what a barge is. It's typically a flat-bottomed vessel that may or may not have its own means of mechanical propulsion, which means that some of them are self-propelled while others are being moved with a tugboat. So there are many types of barges, which include the dry bulk or carrying barge, liquid and barges. We also have sewage carrying barges. We have water carrying barges. There's so many of them. You just name it. But when it comes to types of vessels that is used in international shipping, most people think first about larger containers like ship, air tankers, LNG carriers. These are the most popular ones among the marine uh, transport industry. So, however, barges may play an important bridge and link role and are increasingly performing more efficient waterways and transport function, which is to say that more reliably. It is very, very important to understand that these barges do a lot of things, as we are going to see from this today's function. So let's look at the functionality of a barge. Barges are cargo vessels that are not self-propelled and must be towed by a tugboat or pusher. So if you can see my screen very well, you'll see that there is a barge here, and then a tugboat. A tugboat is like it's a replica of the head of a trailer. A trailer has a truck, and
So
then it has a head.
your screen
So
did not move. The next, you didn't move the next slide. We are seeing only still the first page.
sorry.
We are still seeing the first slide.
Um,
Yeah, you didn't press the next slide.
are you seeing this now?
No,
Are
I'm
you
still seeing
seeing?
the first. I'm still seeing the first slide. The first slide.
Uh, uh,
What about others? Is it only me?
Yeah, I'm viewing the same. You should try to use the
Use
drop down.
the yeah, exactly to put your.
So while we are trying to rectify this issue of the slide, I want to use this opportunity to welcome those of us that are joining us for the first time today. My name is Johnson Wala, and this is Safeoclock Health and Safety Interactive Workshop. So what we do here as health and safety professionals, we gather here weekly, every Thursday by 6 p.m. Qatar time, to discuss a chosen topic for the week. So like you've seen today, this week, we are discussing about barge safety, the benefit and the risk opportunities. The presentation is always led by one of us. And after the presentation, we open the floor for others to share their view and share their experience about the topic of discussion for the week. So that is how we do it here every week. And we also give opportunity for others to come up with their topic, any topic that you feel so confident in discussing or leading the presentation. You can inform me after the week's presentation so that we can prepare the flyer and update others on the topic of discussion for the week. So that is how we do it here. So it's a pleasure to have you join us. And Mr. Henry, your slide is up, so I think you can continue. Yes, we can see your screen. You've removed it again. Sahel, you can see your screen.
Hello, Mr. Henry, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. You are
Yes, go
muted.
ahead. Yeah.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Please tell me if it moves so that I know.
Yeah, now it's
moving.
on full screen.
Okay, so can you see?
Yes, I
Yeah,
can see.
yeah, it's moving.
Is it moving?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
moving.
Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry about guys. Sorry. So typically we were talking about transport shipping with barges, benefit, risks, and opportunities. And then I was trying to explain before that hitch, I mean that glitch, and I was trying to explain that what a barge is, and also try to look at the different types of barges. As you can see on the screen, that's a sample of a barge. This one is a cargo carrying barge, also known as a dry bulk uh, barge. Uh, this is like the fundamental type we'll be looking at today. And this very one is worthy to note that it is not self-propelled, although there are other barges that are self-propelled, but this is being driven by an engine or a tugboat, which you will see in the next slide. So if you look at the screen by the right hand side, you'll see that where my cursor is, this is a tugboat. This is the driver of this barge. Okay. So we were looking at the functionality of the barge, and we say barges are cargo vessels that are not self-propelled and must be towed by a tugboat. Of course, we are talking about the dry bulk or cargo barge here. And we say it can navigate narrow and shallow waterways and can be easily reconfigured to suit the needs of the cargo being carried, making it suitable for transport cargo between ports and inland rivers. Are you with me, everyone? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so uh, a few barges with additional means of propulsion are called motorized barges. I've already explained that some can actually be automated, which have some degree of self-propulsion. The movement of barges during transit depends on the functionality of the tugboat and also the tidal waves. Very important, as we are going to see as the topic continues. So, having known what a barge is and having understood that the different types. So, look, what are the benefits? Which is actually uh, a very important segment of today's discussion. What are the benefits of shipping with a barge? So, if you look at my on the screen, you will see that this barge here is carrying some trucks, some heavy duty trucks on it. So the ability to keep your cargo in one location without added expense of trucking it back and forth gives the barge an edge over alternatives. For example, if it has to be on land, you know that for every space you will be parking, you will have to pay. You will have to. There is this yoga of taking, reparking, or maybe moving to suit a space where your trucks can. But on a barge, it's very easy. You don't have to move back and forth. Once it's on the barge, you can just park somewhere and it's comfortable. So, moreover, there are different more benefits which comes with this transportation. Now we're looking at the very first one, efficiency. Okay, so even as shipping costs for trucks freight increase every year, barge transportation remains an affordable option. When barges are used for transportation and shipping, the benefits are passed along everyone in the supply chain. Uh, just to explain that, yes, it's very affordable as compared to the other options of transportation of land. So once they are there, the freight is spread across the shipment pay it. I mean, pay shipment. It doesn't have to be you pay for one, you pay for the other. It's just spread across like that. Then we are continuing with the benefits. Number two here, we said road congestion is reduced by barge transportation. Very definitely, absolutely true. Especially in countries where we have highly industrialized areas, like for instance in Nigeria. Those of us here will agree that transporting the 20 feet containers, the 40 feet containers on road can be very cumbersome, like what you're seeing on the picture. So barges can mitigate the risks of expensive infrastructure repairs by reducing the number of vehicles regularly traveling on the roadways. Okay, heavy duty uh, vehicles actually have more impact on roads. Okay, so it's easier to even transport these us by using the badge. It saves a lot of road damages and the rest. So it is estimated that about 118, 688 interstate lane miles of pavement will be needed to resurface with approximately 2 inches of asphalt in badge. This here is just trying to explain what it will cost by the time this heavy haulages cause damages to our roads. So it's easier, it reduces road congestion. This is the primary thing we need to know here. Then of course, safety, which is supposed to even be our number one priority. It's safer to use the barge than, I mean, transport containers or luggages of heavy weights and tonnages on road. You can see from my slide, you can see here there is an accident, and of course, it is very obvious that someone or a lot of people here will lost their life. This is this is a barge coming in contact, maybe a truck falling down with a container on top of a smaller vehicle, and this is not only going to cause death, it will also impede on the movement of that route for that day. So transport by barge is significantly safer than transportation by road. Okay, recent research shows that for every injury caused by a barge accident, more than 824 are caused by truck accident. That's a geometric number to be very concerned about as a safety person. So moreover, barge spills over 1,000 gallons, barge spills of over 1,000 gallons are very low at 2.12 gallons per million ton miles, while truck spills at about six of that. That's about 75% of the uh, total amount mentioned here, which is very possible and true. So, barge transportation method could improve working conditions and reduce risks, liabilities for business owner. And of course, you agree that yes, like the person whoever owns this barge, I mean this container will lose a lot of goods here, may be damaged, not even adding the fact that litigation, police investigation, and the cost that he will even spend in trying to see how he can compensate if at all he is at fault. So these are some of the things we need to consider. Optimal safety is very achievable by the use of bike. Then again, we look at one very important point here, which is the environmental uh, suitability. So when we reduce fuel consumption and greater cargo capacity, fewer emissions are released in the air, which is very true. On our roads, when you see these heavy trucks going up and down from point A to point B, from intertown to interstate, you see them, I mean, emitting a lot of carbon monoxide, a lot of uh, toxic gases in the air. But with a barge transportation, it's not going to be so. Okay, because it emits low, it is self-propelled, it's not self-propelled rather. So it's going to be lower than what you see. You can imagine how many tons of carbon is being released by this truck head here and in bid to transport. So this is a very important benefit of using the barge. So long distance travel on land increases the emission of carbon, which is the chief source of climate change. And we know that we are suffering from the changes in the climate these years. We've been having a lot of issues, and we've been trying to see, environmentalists have been trying to see how they can curb this. So Barge is one sure way of reducing the environmental pollution or contamination from these exhaust tax. Then, of course, let's look at the opportunity and the risks. Marine transport gives you the leverage to reach everywhere in the world, which absolutely is true, where land movement is limited. Very, very true. For those of you who are into transportation, especially marine, or you have had the privilege, you will relate with me on this point. So, you being a crew member gives you a chance to be part of this unprecedented action. Why? Because apart from that, you travel all over the world, you move raw materials from one point to the other. And then one very important point here is that it is you pay well for people who are into marine transport. The pay is good. Ability to travel and have a dynamic, fast-moving work environment to the salary and the opportunity of being a part of the world's most integral industry. That's one good opportunity. The ability to travel, have a dynamic, fast-moving work environment to the salary and the opportunity to be part of the world's most integral industry is enormous. It's very, very enormous, and it's very, very rewarding. So that's one of the opportunities. So let's look at risks now, because for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So for every good side of anything, there's always the rough side. Port congestion is very, very observable in barge transportation. For those of us who are living in areas who are close to waterways like Lagos and the riverine areas in Nigeria, you will agree with me that barges can experience long delays in major ports, impacting on the reliability of the transportation network. Okay, there could be some delays in expecting. Sometimes you will say, okay, in 6 months' time, I will have this, but it may take up to a year. Meanwhile, that's where the roads have the advantage, because whatever happens, it will always get to the destination in time. Let's look at also operational failures. The issue with tugboats, barges, and even compressed air system can lead to loss of the maneuverability, and potential devastating consequences. Then I've also talked about the reliability issues, where you put an estimated time while you're traveling with barge, but it doesn't get there at the time, okay, because of some of these delays, okay. And but with road transport, it's not this bad, because you can always get there with the time. Then, of course, a very big one: security threats. Very important. Barges are very susceptible to marine security threats. Here in Nigeria, sometimes when you for those of us that have worked in swamps and in creeks, sometimes we come in contact with most of these sea pirates, hijackers, and the rest. Okay, these are very big security threats to your transportation means. If you are using a barge, they can get stolen, they can be hijacked, and ransom be put before you recover these items. So it's a very big threat, and one of the risky adventures of traveling with barge. So you take your time to look at the cargo barge, the different parts. It's very important that you know. Then, very importantly, we come to the last part of this segment. It's the marine inspection and marine safety tip. As safety people, as safety professionals, we before we embark on the transport using a barge, we need to be very sure. We need to do some of the inspection, assurance checks, and be very sure that this barge we are using satisfy all the safety requirements. So we look at the visual checks, okay? So when we do visual checks, when we do safety and marine inspection, we look at the safety critical components of the barges and the tugboats. very important. The safety critical components are to be in good working order. They don't need to be compromised because in the case of emergency, most of these components, if not all, are used almost immediately and they can save us a lot of financial implication and also lives. So look at the visual checks. So first of all, you cite what they call the barge draft. The draft is one line. It's a line that is drawn on the barge to show if the barge is underloaded or overloaded. Okay, so if it's submerged inside the water, by the time you've loaded your load, then it shows that that barge is overloaded and not fit to travel with. But if it's above the water surface, then you know that, yeah, this barge is safe. So that draft tells us whether or not the barge is overloaded or underloaded. It's always visible on the barge. So when you're doing this, you must check for the visuality and cite that badge. It's very, very important. Then integrity of the mooring ropes to ensure adequacy of the barge capacity. The ropes you must check so that they don't have breakage, they are not too short, they can carry the capacity. For example, you cannot use a 250 millimeter, I mean a 25 millimeter mooring rope for a 1,000 ton barge. You know it's not going to hold it, okay? So it must fit the capacity of the barge. And then there's what they call the part of the barge they call the ballast tank. Performing a physical assessment on that ballast tank will show if there's an anomaly or there is any corrosion or dent, because the ballast tank is what keeps the barge on a buoyancy state. It helps the barge to float, and if there is any problem with that ballast tank, the barge is going to sink. If there is, for instance, there is a hole or it is not properly gauged, the water in it is not properly gauged, it's going to sink along the way. So the balance tank, very, very important. Okay, so safety barrier components like the cargo depth frames, the anchor pivot, manhole, hull plates, tailboard, rake fenders, etc. These are very important aspects of the barge because they are there to take care of the goods so that they don't fall off during transportation, and as well also take care of the people or the people who are on board who are checking these things so that you don't also fall off. So the availability of and integrity of life-saving protective equipment like life vests, lab buoys, floating balloons, etc. Very, very important in case there is uh, a problem and you need to get off board. Okay, you need to maybe get into the water or something, or they need to save somebody who has fallen into the water, and because of the traveling, these things are to be in good working order. These equipment are to be in good working order for you to be able to do that. Then let's look at the documents and the compliance obligation. I'll be a little bit fast here because of time. There, we have for barges that are inland meaning that using the rivers within a specified country. All the certification and permits from the relevant government agencies and regulatory bodies have to be intact, have to be valid. But if you're doing a transboundary boundary movement, maybe you're moving from one country, say Nigeria to Ghana or Nigeria to another country, for instance, you need to get international certifications and permit from the relevant global regulatory bodies like the IMO, International Marine Organization, the ICS, the AMCA, and the rest, as the case may be. Okay, so also third-party calibration certificates, very valid for safety critical equipment. They need to be, since we are not subject matter experts in detecting the validity of these things, they need to show a third-party calibration certificate from people who are doing these inspections to check that these safety critical equipment are in good working condition. Tank integrity certificates like the magnetic particle inspection, leak detection test to be done on the ballast, as we said earlier. These are all certificates that we as safety people need to cite during this inspection to be sure that this barge is really, really to be sailed with. And then the insurance certificate should be cited as a confirmation that is valid, because it's for any incident, there should be a life insurance. If not, then there's going to be a monumental loss for the owners. Then, after looking at visual text and documents, now we come to competency, okay? Competency and operationability. And we know that this is a sensitive part of transportation. It is not land. It is on the marine environment. People who are making use, who are operating this barge movement, must be very competent, and they must be trained. They must have the valid certification that permits them or qualifies them to make use of this transportation. I mean, certifications like STCW, Survivor at Sea, Bozet, marine training, different types of marine training, are some of these certifications that makes these people competent and already qualified to operate this barge. The navigation components, such as the gyro compass, electromagnetic communication gadgets, speed logging meter, GPS, and automatic identifying system, must be in good working condition. This is part of the safety critical equipment that we are talking about. In case of an emergency, in case there is an issue on the sea, or in the course of the traveling, maybe something is spoiled, or maybe they need help. These equipment will help to communicate with the responsible people or the responsible agencies that will come and give emergency aid. So it's very, very important to ensure this as HSC people, as safety people doing inspection. These are very valid points. These are very valid checks we have to put in place to be able to know that yes, these badges are ready to be sold. So uh, let's look at the self-selling measures lastly. Always follow the recommended maximum load capacity and secure the cargo with appropriate lashing to prevent shifting during transit. Very important. We have said this before, that we have to check for the draft. If the draft is above the water level, it means it's okay. If it's beyond it, if you can't see it, know that that. Moreover, crew members involved in loading and unloading processes should be trained in proper lifting techniques and minimize the risk of injuries. We have said that training is one of the things that qualify them for the competency and operability. So it's very, very important that people are trained. People who are using this means of transport are trained. Then in narrow channels and seaways, smaller vessels should keep out of the way of of bigger ones which are confined to deeper water. Very important. You don't have to drag spaces with bigger ships or bigger cargoes when you're using a bike. You always try to obey the traffic instructions, give way for bigger vessels, try to be in a safe zone so that the tides that is being caused and the waves that are being caused by the propellers of these bigger vessels are not much in such a way that they can overturn your own barge. So you have to obey the traffic rule, marine traffic rule, and then lastly you follow the approved journey plan. Very important. Don't deviate from your journey management plan. There must be a journey management plan. You don't deviate from it, because so many assessments have been made for that route, and that is why they have included it in the journey management plan. If you don't follow the approved journey management plan, you may get into trouble, and then there will be a risk of losing the properties or even life. So this is we come to the end. I am very sure that by the time you also go back and look at these slides again, we'll, when you put everything into practice, as safety person who is being called upon to do a bike inspection, you make sure that by the time you're done following these few tips here, you will have ensured that the bike is really ready to be sold, and then you can assure that technically you will have a safe journey as they say through the navigational waters. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henry. We are so happy to hear from you, and it was such a wonderful presentation, especially for those of us that are not yet uh, competent in the field of what you're explaining. So it's an opportunity for us to learn more from the experts. And I think my own part is just appreciation. Thank you very much. I know
Yeah.
those who are experienced in that field will have something to contribute. Mr. Steven, your hand is up. You want
Yeah,
to contribute?
not, not really, because my expertise is not cut across such industry, irrespective of the fact that probably I might have some knowledge in terms of true readings and all that. For me, I just want to make one or two comments and probably just ask one question for clarification. Yeah, Mr. Swengba, you've done a great job. That is why for me this session, or will I say this community, is very important, because for many of us, we are going to learn a lot. Personally, I know what this platform has done for me personally as a professional, because sometimes you see that most of the things, sometimes even when you go for interviews and all that, you discover that see, these are things that I would just look at it like a classroom, because when we are engaged in work, and especially for some people who are not in an organization whereby they normally engage them in trainings, you discover that you will just be focused on just the knowledge of what you are seeing on your site or your particular project. But as a professional, this kind of medium will give us the opportunity for us to listen at so many topics. Yeah, in as much as I expected that today we'll be discussing a topic related to environment, because today is the World Environmental Day, I guess, and I believe. So, but I would just want to put this to Mr. Johnson, that we should try to follow this trend of looking at some events, within the year. Look at the year calendar. Let's have some topic that will be fixed to some specific and World Day celebration. I think that would be a fantastic one, because if I discuss this topic and push this particular one for next week, I don't think it would have been a bad idea, because Mr. Swengba is always on ground, and that's just an observation. Yeah, for me, to the question, and I'll say thank you very much for what you have done so far, Mr. Swengba. I want to ask, when you are talking about looking at some kind of cost benefit in terms of transportation means, maybe we use the road transport to transport the container. That I think one benefit is that if we have the barge and the container being within the, I don't know, maybe sea level on the water, it can reduce costs for maybe the owner or stuff like that, if I get you very clearly. But what I'm looking at now, because if this thing goes on land, like you said, going back and forth, they might be paying for rentage or maybe for space in storing these things. Now, using this barge on water, does it mean that it's a free of charge? Or are you making the comparison based on the fact that, renting space on land is more expensive as compared to that of being on the water and things like that? And on the other side again, that I look at it, is that even when you transport it with the barge to a certain areas, okay, let's say from Lagos to Port Harcourt, when you get to Port Harcourt, definitely this container will still have to they will still have to be transported through land to the specific location where they will be maybe the goods and whatever will be removed from each container. So I don't know if you can just give me more clarification on that. I think that will be fine. And I'll say thank you once again for taking this. Thank you. You get me, Mr. Swimba?
Okay, sorry. I just went to use my. Can you come back with your question again? Sorry.
Okay.
Can you come back with your question again? Sorry.
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to look at where you made mention of in terms of the benefit in terms of transportation. Okay.
Mm.
Now, one question will come. What just run through my mind? So I don't know if it's a question to you, but if you can do more clarification, because I still believe that this container will still be transported, irrespective of, because if you say this container they are on the barge, maybe you say maybe from Lagos to another location, maybe within the same Lagos, maybe from the island to Badagry or something like that. Definitely, this barge will still be transported from the sea level through the land to a specific location where they are needed. Okay. Then on the other side, I'm looking at the aspect where you're talking about maybe just storage of the, of the container, on that same bed on the sea level, on the sea, because if you have to store this container on land, it might require some kind of rent, some kind of rent, and that might be cost effective for the owners of the goods or whatever. But on the other aspect, I'm just looking at is it that when you have it stored in the bed there, on the bed rather on the sea, doesn't that cost money as well? Doesn't it have a kind of cost implication? Is it free of charge to just have it there on the sea, on the bed? Why not on the land? I don't know if you get my.
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sure.
Yeah, so the truth is that it depends on the navigational waters that are found within the geopolitical, I mean the
Sure.
areas of operation within, for example, in Nigeria, there is actually there is actually some navigation that can, for example, in One in River State, you want to take a container or groups of container or cargo from One port in River State to Lagos, Tinkan Island in Lagos, for instance. There is always this path you can follow on. There is the river where you can follow. There is the ocean, the Atlantic. These are paths that you can follow. But I believe that maybe because they are looking at the ocean tides, they are looking at the kind of waves that are within at some point in time. That's why people try to, maybe the kind of badges they have in this country are not that sophisticated for them to follow to navigate those kind of areas. So they will tend to like transport it through land, which for them they feel is much safer. Only it will cost them a lot of time, it will also cost them a lot of delay. But I think if you are asking if why we still see people moving within land where we know that there is always this waterway link between these two cities. I think maybe it's because of the kind of barges we have. The tidal waves here are actually out there in the ocean at some point in different locations before you get to Lagos. You need some kind of sophisticated badges, not the kind of badges we see here in other countries. Movement is by waterways, and you see their badges are highly sophisticated. And again, you also look at maintenance culture. Do you know? We don't even know if those badges, some of them have been there for 25 years, for 30 years, no maintenance, and they have had a lot of issues. But now people just want to use them because everybody wants to make profit, but nobody wants to look at the maintenance. So maybe those badges are not even fit to say. That's why you see them still using the routes. Okay, so that could be a factor. Then you also talk about storage of containers or cargoes on the barge other than on land, and you want to know if it's cost effective or cost implicative. It's both. At one side is cost effective, and another side is cost implicative, because if you store so many of those containers on land, there will be no space. You have to pay for space. You have to, and of course, if you have gone to a port before, you understand what we say. But when you store on barges, they are not charging you per container. They are charging you for that barge alone. So it is the barge alone, the space occupied by the barge alone that they are charging you, not for the containers. But on land, for every space in the ports, I have been there before. I had the privilege for every space your containers they charge per containers. So that is the difference. That's the two difference.
Thank you very much for this. Okay, Mr. Johnson, I know today's topic is marine specific using of barge and the benefit of and cost effective or implication and all that. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Swengba, for the presentation. Yeah, if you have not been in the marine, I think I started my marine, my career with the marine before going into construction safety. And I've also worked even in FPSO a little bit, like 1 year to 2 years. So I have some good knowledge a little bit on the marine operational system and the usage of barges and the talk about the vessels and all that. So like what Swengba said is a good presentation, but it will be hard for many people to contribute today because of the nature of the presentation. What I tell you is the marine world has its own technology system of operation, even the safety aspect as well, where on the marine aspect, where you'll be talking about the IMO, International Management Marine Organization and all that. That is why in the marine, they have its own certification as well, STTW as per the regulated body of the marine system, including even their medical. They have a different medical operation system for the crews that handle the marine activity. Like the barge you see, just as Wemba said from the beginning, the barges are of different type of barges, and the barge is they have different functions. The barge that carry containers, I can relate it with like in Saudi here, because I was a little bit I worked with in the port. My first operation was in the port area while I was in the Star. You see that most of all their transportation of their containers once arrive through the vessels and all that. Most of the containers are transported first through the train to the depot where they are storing them. And before they distribute them to their owners, or maybe that is after clearance and all that. But like in Nigeria, I know we have different waterways where if you want to take one barge that will take some materials, maybe from Warri to Port Harcourt or from Port Harcourt to Lagos, as the case may be, they have different channels of movement. For me, I would say it's more even cost effective because most of those quantity of barge and the item those barges are carrying, if they use through the road, they are exposing a lot of persons into the risk of falling of barges, just like one of the slides I saw there, falling of containers from the truck and other vehicles. And sometimes when you see some traffics and with the kind of bad road we have, these are contributing to, to, to the damages of our road as well. Because if some of these operations are, if they are following the marine system effectively, it will be more better, and it will also give our road long-lasting duration. But like in Nigeria, you see a lot of persons engaging the road with containers, heavy containers, so many falling off the road and all that. But if they use through the marine process in this transportation, it will reduce those numbers of incidents that we are witnessing in the road. Like here in Saudi, I've not seen a truck fall off. I've not seen a container fall off from the truck before, because most of them they are used. The transportation is once it comes through the port, they use through the train to transport them. It is few that are just going through the road. So let me say about 80% are going through the marine and through the train, to their destination, then Veritas 20% is going through the road. This is another cost benefit, which I can see the presentation of today as well. So it's an interesting topic for those of us who have not been in the marine operation. And just as he said, before you hire a barge for operation, there are things you have to undergo. You have to check the insurance, the marine certification of the barge, checking if the barge meets the capacity of what you want to use the barge for. Also checking the barge, when it was built, the duration, and the kind of, some of the barges are built with different metals, different integrity, different structures, because these certificates from the marine, they carry this information. So sometimes when we want to hire barge for operations, the tons are defined. The capacity of the barge are well defined in the certificates and all that. Checking the rails, the guard rails, because even if Shell wants to take, if you are working for Shell and Shell asks you to take a barge for their operation, they give you the specific specification of the barge you have to hire before you can bring into their own operation yard. So there are a lot of things that you check when hiring a barge for operation of marine activities. So this is another learning point for those of us who have not been in the marine system, who we also see this opportunity to get some pre-knowledge on how to inspect and having some knowledge on the marine and barges operations. So thank you, Sengba.
Okay. I wanted to say something. I don't know
No?
if I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so good evening, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Swangba, for that insightful discussion. I just wanted to add, during your conclusion, you talked about the destination of barges, and of course, it has having to do with journey management plan, and that it's important that the journey management plan must be followed at all times because of the transportation activity. I think it's also important, or I think it's also necessary, we also highlight that in the course of moving the barge, while respecting journey management plans, there are instances or there are circumstances where the journey management plan can actually be altered. Journey management plans of plan of a barge can be altered for safety reasons and for security reasons as well. So it's not like it is set on stone. So there are unusual circumstances, like I've mentioned now, security reasons or safety reasons that can actually warranty the alteration of a barge's journey management plan, and basically that's that. So the other thing I also want to harp on is about having to do with the winches of barges, because I think not too long ago there was a video in circulation. I'm sure some of us would have seen that video where the winch of a particular barge snapped and it's killed the operator. In fact, it was so graphic that the impact cut the man into two. And somebody also commented that he has seen a similar incident happen in Lagos as well, in one of the ports in Lagos, where the winch of a barge actually broke, and then because of the tension and accidentally it killed somebody who was standing in the line of fire. So I think it's also important that we highlight the barge winch safety, regular inspection of winches, and of course determination of the load and all of that. So normally, like in our normal HSC operations, we look at what we call whip check. When you're having working with hoses, you look at whip checks to ensure that the whip check is actually rated according to the pressure that is expected to manage with the hose. So the same thing goes also with the winches on our barges as well. So it's important that proper maintenance, proper inspection and maintenance of the winches be done, and then of course observing blind spots too, to be sure that you don't mistakenly stand at a location where there may be entanglement of the witches, because we've seen that as well too, where, okay, maybe, okay, there's a slack somewhere, or they are working on the winch and suddenly something happens and then it comes alive, and then somebody is actually on the line of fire and there is entanglement, or probably the fellow gets struck by the winch. So basically that's the contribution I just wanted to make. That is important. We also highlight that. Thank you very much.
Even including the mooring ropes, even the mooring ropes.
Yeah, mooring ropes, yes, as well.
Exactly, because the mooring ropes of the barges are also different. They are not all the same. The barge, for example, of 100 ton, have a different mooring rope from that of a 50 ton. So these ropes are also to be well selected that will be used, because some of the barges we face a very high tide. So if you are not using the required mooring rope, it becomes also a problem, even in the sea and even in the shore during the mooring process. Okay, over to you, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, brother. Thank you very much, Mr. Victor and Mr. Francis, for your wonderful contribution.
I just have one small
As it
question.
is today, for people like us, we are just listening and learning. And Mr. David is laughing at us. So
But
today is a learning day for me. So I am all ears wide open to learn from you guys. So thank you very much
sorry,
for
Mr.
that.
Mr.
Wonderful.
Mr. Johnson, I have some small question.
Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henry, for that presentation. Actually, I don't have much experience about batch safety and stuff like that. I just want to know, during the batch transportation, is there any electrical connection between the ship which tows the batch and the batch, or there is only the rope, or how can I put it? There's only the rope that is towing the batch. Is there any electrical connection to share information from the batch
No,
to the
no.
main ship?
No. There are no electrical connection from the tugboat to the barge. No, the barge is solemnly a single barge. So only what is attached during the towing process is the whether we call it mooring winch, which is a kind of like a rope that is attached to ensure that the barge is properly secured to the tug that is moving it from point A to point B.
My second question is, so we can assume that a barge is just a floating vessel with no
Correct.
sophisticated connections and devices installed inside. It's just a floating, because why I'm asking this is that in case of an incident, there is, I know that in ships and other machines that navigate this maritime system, there is some form of a black box or a device which records everything that is happening within the device, so that if there is an incident, we can go in and then use this information and then try to determine what happened. So I was just curious if there is any link between the batch. Okay, back to you.
No.
Okay, thank you very much. That's the only question I have.
There's a possibility, Emmanuel, there's a possibility that in the course of the movement, a barge can sink while the tugboat will not. If they don't follow the safety procedure to check, for example, the ballast tank. The ballast tank is that void space in the barge that helps the barge to attain stability and floats it. Now, there are some checks that have to be done on that balance tank. Check the corrosion, check that there is no dent, check that the water there is not so much or so low, you know. So these are things that are being, that's why we say we have to check all these components to ensure that they are in good working condition. They can be moving the tugboat can be moving the barge, and if this barge itself is not well checked and has issue, the barge can sink, but the tugboat may not. The only condition or the only factor that will make the tugboat to sink with the barge is because of the winch that is being attached to it. It might decide to drag it down with it. Okay, so it's very important we check this thing. There are no electrical connection between the barge and the tugboat. It is that communication gadget you're talking about is found in the tugboat, not on the barge, because it is from the tugboat that the sailors communicate with the outside world, communicate with the emergency response agency and all that. So it is inside the tugboat. The tugboat is like a ship of its own, but the barge is just there, a vessel, just to carry the
Okay.
uh, cargo.
I just want to I want to say something. I just want
Okay.
to add, can I just add a little to what Mr. Swangwa has just said? In the course of the presentation, he made mention of badges. We have different types of badges. I know what a lot of people are actually familiar with is more like this blank, empty badge that has a void under, and then you put a load on top of it, and then maybe you have a tugboat that directs it. It doesn't have any engine and all of that. That's a kind of badge as well. But we have different types of badges. We have badges for other purposes and all of that. So there are self-propelled badges as well
Yes.
that can actually propel themselves. We have a covered hoppers like those ones they use for cement. They use them for transporting cement. They use them for transporting fertilizers and even grains and all of that. So we have badges for different purposes as well. So there are, for those ones that are used for other purposes other than the common badge that we regularly see around our local waters and all of that, those ones may be having some of these sophisticated gadgets, communication gadgets, monitoring gadgets like the ones that tells them about how deep the water is and all of that, their directions and all of that. So those ones certainly will have. But for the regular badges that usually is being used for transporting maybe let's say pipes and all that does not propel itself, they may not have any communication gadget. I just wanted to highlight that. Thank you very much.
Correct.
I think there is a question in the chat box. Maybe Mr. Harry can address that.
Hello. I just want to. Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, go
Yes,
ahead,
yes, yes.
Omotede. Go ahead, please.
Yes. I just want to add to what the last speaker talked about. I want to talk about the other aspects, and you know this topic is a topic that the very largest extent is a rare topic. It's not something that we always discuss, and it will be good. I will just add a little punch to what has been said so far. Uh, uh, from what the last speaker talked about, we have many badges, like he rightly said. The use of badge in the marine industry, it cannot be overemphasized, owing to the fact that it has uh, major applications in terms of construction work and the likes. So I just want to quickly talk about a specific type of badge, lay badge or a work badge. This equipment is something that in terms of construction and movement of load in the oil and gas, you cannot roll it out. It's not sophisticated like some people will expect. It's not a sophisticated badge. It's something that's moved by the tugboat. So it's a badge that you see in the location areas. It is very useful. Owing to the fact that you see these areas are areas that you don't play with safety. There's zero locations, zone zero. So these kind of areas, you always make sure that these badges are what you use in these places. And in terms of these high risk hot work activities, as per the construction welding of pipes that might be done in jackets or warhead, there's no use taking this kind of jobs to these areas. The reason because if you would do so, you you start a fire. If you want to do a work as you like, you you take your work away from the remote areas and go and do your fabrication work before you come and install this tool at the remote location where you have the fuel or gas that has been pumped, or the jacket or wherever the case may be. So badges, the use of badges cannot be overemphasized. It's very useful in the oil and gas industry. So thank you, Mr. Swengba, for this topic you've discussed this afternoon. It really makes more sense to us that I've done a little work in the oil and gas. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mojede. Thank you for adding your voice to the topic. It's a pleasure to have all of us. There is a question in the chat box. Mr. Samara asked, as water is very sensitive part of environment, is there a specific preventive control measure, rules or regulations to prevent general water pollution? Some example, if possible.
Yes,
Yeah,
I was trying to give a answer. I just typed something and sent. I was still typing before you
okay.
made it. Yeah. Yeah. There is an international regulation they call MAPO. Okay, MAPO is MAPO convention addresses the issue of pollution, waste management on a barge or in the marine industry.
Ballast
So
water too.
exactly. So
Ballast water.
uh, there are a group of certain rules that you must, especially if you are doing a transboundary transportation. Maybe you're moving from one country to another, and when you are transporting very sensitive items like barges that are self-propelled, that have sewage, that have a sewage treatment plant in them, or those ones that you're transporting potable water transportation and all that. So the MAPO convention, you can Google it after now. It is a convention that came out with about rules that have up to like 10 to 11 subsections. So if every section addresses waste management, sections addresses waste management and also spill response and everything. So it's not something I can start saying all of them here, but that's the more reason why if you are having a barge that wants to sail transport that wants to be a transborder movement, you have to check that they have the valid certification, they have the permits from IMO, International Marine Organization. They have obeyed the MAPO conventions. You have all these permits. When you check all these things, you would have, mitigated this concern by over 80-90%.
Okay, just to also add to what Mr. Swengba has said. I don't know if you can hear me. Just to add to what Mr. Swengba has said, I think that's a MAPO convention also states the requirements for the management of ballast water. You know, this before vessels actually travel, especially like these transboundary vessels that move from one country to another, we have to pump water into the void to be able to stabilize it. We call it the ballast. So that water, ordinarily, when you go into a new country, let's say a particular vessel is coming from, let's say, Italy to Nigeria, before the vessel will eventually berth, there's a requirement for the vessel to actually empty the ballast water. And so talking about the question, managing water pollution and all of that. So it's a requirement from that MAPO convention that at least 300 or 200 miles to the berthing point or the short jetty, the ballast water is expected to be disposed of into the open river, open ocean before the barge eventually berths. So there's a requirement for that water to be treated. And of course, in most cases, that's where you have these environmental professionals. They take water sample, check for invasive species and all of that to ensure that they are not bringing in invasive species from country A where the vessel is coming from, and you end up introducing that to a new environment, and it becomes a problem. So I think Mr. Swangba is actually very, very correct with that response. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Victor and Mr. Henry, for that clarification. We are all learning. My first time of hearing about the MAPO convention. So thank you all for this eye-opening discussion today. Do we have any other contribution? Mr. Somara is saying thank you. I'm sure he's happy to have learned a lot today.
Sir David Obiriki, the way you are looking, it looks like you are trying to give us so much from the depth of your brain.
Well, don't mind me. I'm just here to listen, to learn. I'm very exhausted. So, but I'm enjoying myself with the section.
Okay. Do we have any further contribution? I'm sure maybe most people here are not familiar with that industry, so they just open their ears just like my own to pick all the necessary informations.
Exactly.
So it's quite a pleasure hearing from you guys. That is why we are happy to always join. We must learn one or two things from experts in that industry. If you come into transportation now, I will be sharpening my mouth. But now today is just my ear that will be sharpened. So thank you guys. It's always a pleasure to learn from my professional colleagues.
Tomorrow is actually tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
do you have a
you're only
seaport in your
typing
country?
today. You can talk. Your typing is too much today.
Exactly.
Actually, he said he's in an environment where he cannot speak. So,
Noisy
carry on.
environment. Stop what is going on here. That's why I'm typing. Sorry.
Yeah, so climate change, yeah. The answer to your question is yes. Climate change can impact on this sector, especially uh, when seasonal changes. Okay, so there are some times within the year that the volume of water is increased, and because of the in geography we call that the revolution of the earth. You know, there are two movements the earth does. One is rotation around the sun in its axis, and the other one is the revolution around the sun. So the revolution is what causes the seasonal changes in marine bodies. Sometimes you have water is full. At that period, there is high tidal waves. You see tidal waves going up as much as tidal waves will go up as much as up to 10, 15 meters before it comes down. Uh, at other times of the year, the water level is normal, it's maintained. So uh, mariners are advised on transportation and the time of the year to transport, especially for the transboundary guys. Okay, and because of this, sometimes goods can be delayed, especially if they are moving from one country to another, because of the seasonal variation and the ocean fluctuations. Some of these requests might be delayed. You might not come in record time because they study the waves, they study the tidal waves, they study the seasons of the year, and they know when best to sail so that they will avoid some of these natural disasters. So yes, seasonal uh, changes impact on this transportation. Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay, Mr. Diak, go ahead.
So I guess what is prompting all these environmental related questions is due to the fact that today is World Environmental Day, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So, and I also noticed that Beat Plastic is always the theme repeatedly. Is there no other areas that they could actually discuss or explore? Why are we always, it's always about Beat the Plastic. Always, because I saw from our company in the internal, they just sent marking today as a environmental day, you know, beats the plastic pollution. Okay.
Plastic pollution is a very big concern, a very, very big concern. 70 years ago, specifically in 1950s, we were having production of about 2 million tons annually within that range. But 70 years after, more than 70 years after, now we are having close to about 460 million tons. This data is from the I cannot really quote now, but I will share with you maybe later privately. But statistics have it that we have close to 460 million tons being produced of plastic waste being produced annually globally
Okay.
currently. So it's a very big program, and if you must know, about
Yes.
0.5% of this this waste find themselves into the waterway. And yes, you see now there is even a problem because of those who use the marine. Apart from the aquatic life, it's also a problem for people who use smaller means of transport, like people who use boats, people who do fishing, and the rest. There's always a problem. Plastic is plastic waste is becoming a menace. It's becoming a menace. So I think what the United Nations organization is doing, trying to do, is to hit on those areas, those that are becoming more of a global concern. If you look, you will also find out that it may interest you to know that 10% of all the waste streams generated in the world is from plastic. So you can understand the concern. Here in Nigeria alone, we are 200 million or so people. Okay, but it is projected that in 2050 we'll be having 400 million people. Currently, we are producing close to about 2.5 million tons of plastic. Only Nigeria. We are ninth in the
Only for
ranking.
Nigeria side.
You understand? We are producing close to 2.5 million tons of plastic. 200 people. In 2020, in 2050, we are being projected to estimate about 400 million. So you can imagine if 200 million is producing this amount, what will 400 million? And we're already in 2025. So it's a problem. It's a big problem. China is there. I mean, producing. They are the top. They are the top of the waste plastic waste production chain, producing almost 88% of the plastic waste. So you should see that it's a big problem. In Lagos, Nigeria alone, only Lagos, a small port town as Lagos alone, is producing close to 870,000.
Okay. Yeah, that is well taken. It looks like there is a Dyke wants to tell us something. Dyke, please, can you unmute and go ahead and share what you want to share with us?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Bubakar. Mr. Bubakar, unmute yourself and say what, and go ahead. Okay, maybe that was a mistake.
So can I just say something before they go ahead? Sorry, Oga David, the way you're looking at me, I'm getting scared. Okay, so somebody asked why is it that like every year we're always doing what's it called, plastic pollution and all of that. So I'm sure that Mr. Swengba has already answered that question, but I just want to add that last year, that's 2024, we didn't talk about plastic waste. It was actually a very interesting topic, and the topic was around the land restoration, the certification, and the drought resilience. So it talked about how we can actually restore land that has already been affected. And then, of course, curb desertification, measures where we can also look at areas that are prone to drought. Of course, we know that these are global issues. These are global environmental issues we are faced with. So, and then, of course, how communities and, of course, societies or nation can actually build resilience to be able to manage the myriads of environmental challenges that we are being faced with on a daily basis as even individuals and, of course, countries. Take, for example, in Nigeria now, we have our own share of our problems. The unfortunate inability of our leaders to be able to sustain the activities of building the Green Wall project or continuing with the Green Wall project is part of what is necessitating why you have the headers from the northern regions coming down to the south here with their cattle for grazing. And because they don't have sufficient rainfall there, they also don't have enough water and, of course, grass to be able to support their kind of agriculture there. So they had to come down here. And while coming down here, of course, they have to transverse through farmlands and all of that. So these are part of the issues. So how can communities, for example, within Sokoto area, Zamfara, Kanu, where you don't have enough rainfall, how can they actually begin to build resilience? What are the kind of plants they can actually introduce within those regions that may not really require a lot of water and all that? So basically, that's what the 2024 team was about. So, but this year is a different, so it's not like every year we talk about plastic pollution, plastic pollution. I just want to highlight that. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Jumbo. Thank you for that addition. I think we have exhausted our topic today, and there is no further contribution, so we can call it a day.
Yes.
Possible, I just want to ask one question only.
Go ahead.
Ask two, don't ask one. Just ask two.
No, I just ask one. I just want to ask Mr. Swanga, like my country, we are in my childhood, when I was standing in the port, I just saw some barges transporting mineral. I don't know if Mr. Swanga has some knowledge about that because I'm just excited to know exactly what happened in that process.
I didn't quite get that clearly. I don't know whether it's only me that didn't get it clearly.
No,
What is
the
what is
question is not clear.
Yes, I was just asking it when I was a very child. I was living near the port, so I was like standing watching some barge transporting some mineral. I don't know if you have some idea about that process and what happened exactly.
okay? When you talk about transportation of minerals, what do you mean? You mean solid minerals like gold,
Yes, solid mineral.
diamond?
Yes, yes,
Well, well, countries that have these large deposits and they want to do international trade, and they use this medium. So countries like Ghana, Ivory Coast, that are Sierra Leone, that are blessed with good deposits. I think it's a very effective medium to also transport huge amount of these resources. Even in Nigeria, the liquefied natural gas, most of it that we sell to other parts of the world have been transported by barge. Take it to the collection point, they load it, then take it to the distribution point, and then do the international training. So yes, but when you are using those kind of badges, especially the ones that contain liquids, the ones that are liquid
yes.
carrying, it's always very, very stricter. The inspection and the requirements are stricter than those open barge cargo, dry bulk cargo, because if anything goes wrong from those kind of barges, you find everything inside the water. You will have destroyed a lot of aquatic organisms. You would have destroyed the a good part of the marine environment. So laws, the MAPO laws and requirements for barges that carry content in them is stricter than for the dry bulk barges that carry just the cargo. So yes, you can actually have a cargo, I mean, a barge carrying solid minerals and liquid minerals as part of the trade, depending on the country you are, depending on what your foreign exchange earner is.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you very much. I really appreciate this experience and the knowledge shared for us. And I also appreciate everyone who has contributed on today's topic. We don't take it for granted. And we promise on the topic that we know very well, we'll also have to also contribute. So thank you guys for always being open to share your knowledge with us. It's not easy. It's something that you can choose not to talk or choose not to share your knowledge, but you choose to share with us. So we really appreciate. So on this juncture, we have to call it a day today and hope to meet again next week. And we have taken correction based on what Mr. Stevens said. We should follow the trend on health and safety events and happenings. Today, we are supposed to discuss World Environmental Day because that is the celebration today. But because we've already fixed this topic, but we'll take correction in other, we'll keep checking the health and safety calendar to be sure we are following the trend. So guys, thank you for joining, and I hope to see you again next week, Thursday.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Swangba.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Mr.
Mr.
Swamba.
Swangba.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Thank
Francis.
you, Mr. Francis. Thank you, everybody. We are
Thank
grateful.
you.
Thank you,
Mr.
David.
Dindo, Amara, Mr. Bubaka, and everybody. We are grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, our guys. We appreciate we the new learners.
We the learners club.
We are much here. We are just at the background.
Yeah.